Hi, everyone. My name is Boris Revsin, a co-host of the Blockchain Brief. Every episode, we interview innovators and executives in the blockchain and crypto space. Today, I am excited to have Alex Wearne, CEO of Aurora, makers of IDEX. Alex, great to have you on the Blockchain Brief.
Yeah, thanks so much for hosting this. It's great to be here.
Great. Well, let's jump right in. First, just a quick introduction of yourself, and then tell us a little bit about Aurora.
My name is Alex Wearne. As you mentioned, I'm the CEO of Aurora Labs. We're the creators of IDEX, a hybrid decentralized exchange operating on the Ethereum network. My background is primarily software development, primarily through the product side. I've worked as a product manager at IBM, Adobe, most recently Amazon, before jumping into this full time. What we've built here with IDEX, as I mentioned, is a hybrid decentralized exchange. So our architecture, we like to say it uses the best of centralized exchanges and the best of a blockchain and smart contract settlement. So when users are trading on IDEX, it feels quick, it's fast, it feels like you're trading on a centralized exchange. While behind the scenes, we're using a smart contract to custody funds and settle all trades. We do that by having all of the trades are routed through the exchange itself for dispatch to the contract, which means that we can have kind of an off-chain settlement piece where users pass a signed transaction to the exchange, and we can update users' balances in real time, pull the order from the books, have them continue trading even while behind the scenes the exchange is dispatching that transaction to the smart contract. So we've seen a lot of success with this model. You know, the best feedback we can get from customers is they didn't even know that they were using a DEX. And then we've seen great growth. So we're recently past 180,000 users. We're doing anywhere from $10 to $20 million of daily trading volume.
Excellent. And compared to Ether Delta, there's many differences from a user experience perspective, but really from a scalability perspective, it's this hybrid model that allows you to do so many things off-chain and speed up these transactions, head off some attack vectors, and do other things that doing everything on-chain prevents. Is that a fair way to look at it?
Yeah, that's correct. So Ether Delta was one of the first innovators by taking the order book off chain. So instead of when you want to make an order, instead of having to sign a transaction and post that to the network, you sign a transaction and hand it over to the exchange. It's kind of just waiting there for someone to come and fill the other side. We took it a step further. We took the trade submission off chain. And instead of each individual user picking an order and then submitting it to the network by themselves, we have them pass the signed transaction to the exchange who submits it on their behalf. And the first thing you mentioned was it helps ward off some attack vectors. So one of the challenges is that if anyone can grab a trade and submit it to the network, that means multiple people can be competing for the same order. So then you have this issue where there's a potential for trade collision. The network's going to decide who wins and who loses. So if you pay a higher gas price, you can be prioritized. You also have this potential for an attack vector where someone can try to fill a trade, but then someone else can actually try to cancel that trade or move their funds before the trade settles. So you can actually essentially back out of a trade. So the way we kind of think about it is if you don't have trade finality, then it's really hard to make profitable trading strategies. It's really hard to make a high performance exchange that's going to scale with the demands of the user base and the demands of kind of the cryptocurrency trading space today.
So in speaking with you, it's clear that you understand the ecosystem, certainly of decentralized exchanges, and now clearly because of the hybrid model, decentralized exchanges. What relevant experience brought you to create this now successful hybrid model?
A lot of it's just software development experience in general. So good product management is studying a user base, understanding their needs, taking, as you mentioned, an assessment of the competitive landscape and kind of seeing how you can incorporate new technology into this product that we're building. So, and I have to give credit to my co-founder, Philip Wearne. He's my younger brother, actually. So he's been trading in the space as a cryptocurrency trader since about 2012. And he was actually the one that came up with the insight to go with this hybrid approach, kind of pushing along the lines of, how can we use the smart contract for the things that it's good for, custodying funds and settling trades, but not relying on it for any more than necessary, right? Relying on the Ethereum network for the critical components, the mission critical ones that have to do with security of funds, but taking everything else off chain. So it was kind of some brainstorming sessions that we actually came to this design before we were actually able to build and develop and deploy it.
Understood. 2012. Wow. So how do you make money?
So we make money by taking a trade fee on both the maker and the taker. The maker trade fee is 10 basis points, 0.1%. The taker trade fee is 20 basis points, 0.2%.
How does that, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's taken on each transaction unless you have one of our membership tokens. So we released a token called IDEX, which is a membership token, membership to the exchange that allows the token holders to get free trades until the year 2020. So it's an interesting way that we wanted to kind of incentivize early adoption and growth of the exchange. By holding this membership token in your wallet, you're actually exempt from those trading fees that I outlined. And the goal is to encourage people to bring liquidity and encourage others to come trade on the platform, knowing that the more volume, the more tokens, the more they're able to trade, the more valuable that membership becomes to them.
Got it. And do you have a sense of how many folks are using the token as a way to settle versus just paying the fee? And is that trending upwards, downwards? How do you look at that as a successful model or not?
So just to clarify, it's not a fee token like something like BNB. It is a membership in the sense that one whole token gives you 100% of the membership benefits. And you don't burn the token when you make a trade. You hold the token in your wallet and you continue to get those trade fee benefits. And so those trade fee benefits will continue until the year 2020.
Oh, that's very helpful. Thank you for the clarification. It's almost like having one of those Amex lounge passes where you can use it as often as you like. You can go to whoever accepts it, and you get all the services for free.
Exactly right.
Very cool.
And then it's worth mentioning, so we have another token known as Aura. The role of this token is a proof of stake token in the future version of the IDEX network. So as I mentioned, we are a hybrid approach today. So we use the Ethereum network for custody and settlement, and then we have our own servers that are running the other portions of the exchange. Our future vision is to take those other services and further decentralize them into its own proof of stake network powered by the Aura token. So nodes will need to hold this token and stake it in order to validate transactions and submit them to the network for processing, as well as serve up order books and trade histories to customers. For their role in doing so, these nodes will be paid a portion of the trade fees that are collected by the exchange. And I mentioned Aura because it actually relates to the IDXM token as well. So we're distributing the Aura token every month. We distribute a certain amount via an airdrop to those who are trading on the platform. And it's distributed, proportional to the amount that you trade. The idea being that the more you contribute to liquidity on the exchange, the more you kind of contribute to its growth, the more the Aura tokens that you'll receive. Members actually have the choice of choosing between free trades or doubling the rate of rewards in which they earn these Aura tokens every month. So interestingly enough, we've actually seen most members are choosing the latter part. Even though they could get free trades, most of them see kind of the value of our long-term vision and what we're trying to do here and are actually using it to accumulate more of the Aura staking token.
Got it. Do you have a sense of how many trading pairs you have listed or some sense of how you think about listing additional tokens?
Yeah, at the moment we have a couple hundred different tokens listed. Because we use an Ethereum smart contract for trade and settlement, all of these tokens are ERC20 tokens, right? We can't list anything that isn't on the Ethereum network. So that cuts out some of the other blockchain tokens right away. In terms of listing criteria, there's a couple of things we're looking for. The first is kind of demand from the community. We want to see that it's a legitimate project, that the founders are credible. One of the questions is, did they do a token sale and was it successful? Not because you have to do a token sale to be listed on IDEX, but because often if you're able to kind of convince others and get them to join your community, that's a sign of a healthy project. One of the other things that we do is we have to look for tokens that are dividend tokens. So we're careful not to list those given some of the recent regulatory guidance coming out from the SEC. And this is something that's kind of in flux. So we know that it seems that security tokens are kind of coming on the scene and are going to be probably a big portion of the market. So we're trying to explore how we can take the underlying software that we're building and have it serve both the permissionless utility tokens as well as the permissioned restricted security tokens market. And the basic idea there is that the underlying software would be the same. It's kind of the same core infrastructure that's used for trading the tokens. However, there would be some sort of KYC layer on top, ideally by partnering with others who are going to be building those KYC layers that are necessary to kind of hold or use these security tokens.
So I agree with you, Alex, on security tokens being up and coming player in the space. Do you think like many people on Twitter or the influencers in the community, that security tokens are going to eclipse utility tokens. And in any case, how do you think about the entire market for exchange of tokens?
I'll say I don't know to the answer to that first question. I think a lot of that depends on how well do these utility token business models end up working. You know, you could make the argument that to date, there aren't a lot of successful decentralized applications. A lot of the utility tokens, the companies that they've created around them, are still very much in the product development phase. So I think it's still way too early to call how big of a market that's going to be or how successful those new business models will be. I will say that we see a lot of different types of assets being tokenized. So you've got this new utility token, this notion of using a crypto asset as part of your business model. You've got securities tokens where they're trying to take traditional equities and other financial instruments and put them into a crypto asset. And then you got new forms of tokenization, real estate, commodities, other things that will, I guess, create additional liquidity and additional markets that haven't existed before through tokenization. I think a lot of it's still to be figured out. There's going to be a lot of bumps in the road, but we see that there's going to be a lot of different assets that haven't been as liquid as they will be once they're turned into a crypto asset. And we want to be able to support all of those different assets, whatever that takes from both the technology and regulatory perspective.
That's great perspective. I speak to OTC desks from time to time, and they typically like it when the markets are in turmoil. How does it look like for an exchange, for example, when you have bad weeks like we did this past few days? Are you guys affected from a volume perspective, or is just any sort of volatility good for you?
Well, one of the interesting things is that at the moment, the exchange, the base currency is Ether. So from a US dollar perspective, if we're looking at that as a measure of trade volume, a pullback in the market can actually impact the total overall USD trading volume, even if from an Ether perspective, the volume remains flat. There's also general market sentiment. I think we find in a pullback that people retreat to safety of the core cryptocurrencies, if you will. That inherently means trading less ICO tokens, less of the assets that are listed on IDEX in general. But yeah, and then just from a customer perspective, everyone likes it when the market's doing well. Certainly the support channels and the community rooms are a lot happier. So like everybody else, we really appreciate the bull market and hope for its quick return.
Yeah, that's super interesting. And perhaps the reason the OTC desks are so happy when the price is so volatile is because people are escaping large holdings of altcoins into some of the bigger cap coins. That's super interesting. So how big is your team? Is your team all in one place? Or are you guys distributed? And how do you think about the remote workplace?
The core team's up to about 12. We got a couple people joining actually beginning of next week. We then have 4 support staff and 3 individuals who are focused on new token listings, reaching out to projects and making sure that we're kind of keeping a pulse on what assets are being released and we might want to have trade on IDEX. In terms of the remote team, it's a challenge at times. I think a lot of it is trying to make the best of the technological tools that are available. So, we try to encourage everyone. We use a lot of the Slack as our core communication tool, try to encourage a lot of video calls, conference calls, things that even though if you're not sitting right next to each other in the same room, you can be sitting next to each other digitally, looking at the same thing and kind of talking through the same problem together. But it's something that I do think about, and we do consider at some point bringing the team to be, at least have a core component of it co-located. Interestingly, talking to advisors, a lot of people say, do one or the other, either have everyone centrally located or have everyone distributed. That it's these hybrid models that can be challenging because you have a core kind of location where there's a lot of water cooler chatter, so to speak. But then people in the satellites miss out on a lot of core decisions or discussion that goes into that decision-making process. But it's certainly something that up until 20 years ago, I would say, and really the last 5 years, you never really would have considered doing an all-remote team. So it's interesting to tackle that and try to use technology to facilitate the creation and kind of structure of that team at the same time as building these next iterations of financial technology.
Great. And we're seeing more and more in our interviews teams that are fully distributed. And I think they're going through similar challenges to the ones that you're going through. The benefit, of course, is that you can have talent come from anywhere. And one of the things that the blockchain, I think, has empowered is very, very talented engineers, PhDs, even marketing and business people from around the world to come together to create a product. So I think that's something unique, and I think it's only going to go upwards from here. So last question, where can people find you, both potential traders or issuers?
Our trading website is idex.market. You can follow us on Twitter at Aurora DAO. We've also got a Telegram community that if you just search from our website, auroradao.com, you'll be able to see links to that community. So yeah, come reach out to us in any way possible. We'd love to chat further.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you. Appreciate your time.